This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning and good morning. Welcome to everybody once again to another sunrise show from us here in Djuma in the Sabi Sands. It is a beautiful 16 degrees Celsius, 60 degrees Fahrenheit. It's an overcast day with a little bit of a wind chill factor. But we are here. Guess exactly where we are. You got it. We are at Vuyatela Watering Hole with the little chief Hosana, who has decided to show himself early in the morning. Good morning, everybody. My name is Steve Falkerbridge. I'm joined on camera by Fergus, and we are saving fuel today. We didn't drive very far to get him. I heard some alarm calls just before leaving camp. There he's lying down flat. I think it was a Nyala from my room. And then when I was doing my vehicle checks, Meg confirmed with me that Hosana was seen on the dam cam. So we are parked here, positioned, waiting for any animals to come down and say good morning to him. Not that they would be coming to say good morning. They would be coming down for a drink. But it's a little bit windy. It's nice and cool, so I don't see animals coming down anytime soon. But we did make a big effort looking for him last night, and he just vanished. But as was anticipated, how long he's been here for, there were other reports on the dam cam of lions being in the area. Well, we have Tristan Dix on foot. He's going to be following up on that. We've also got Sydney in the vehicle. He's also interested to see where these lions have possibly gone. We think they went south from here, but it's hard to say. I'm going to be sitting right here for any action that might unfold. But we also joined this morning by the Mara with David Gitu up in the north at the moment. And please don't forget to send through your questions. Hashtag SafariLive. Let us know what you'd like to talk about. Let us know anything. Bring it forward. Follow us on the YouTube stream. Chat to us. Let us know how things are going your side. It's a beautiful Monday morning. And Hosana has got a little bit of a head down on the ground. He is hungry. He's looking up every now and again. And who knows what will unfold in the coming hours. But in the meantime, we're going to go all the way up to the Masai Mara, where David Gitu has found some lions.
A very good morning, everybody and everyone. And welcome to the Mara Triangle in Kenya. And from sleeping spot in Hosana, we got other cats here that are also sleeping. These are lions, and maybe you'd like to know why they are sleeping. They have been very busy. That's the lioness there, and this is a mating pair. I'm not sure they're sleeping because it's chilly or because of the activity they have been involved in. They have been mating. We have a possibility of seeing them mating at one point. Big boy there, tucked in because of the cold. Beautiful mane in the savannah grasslands of the Masai Mara. May first introduce, my name is David, and filming with me today is the big boy, James. James, how are you doing? Very good. I say he's big boy because at one point today I'm going to create a scene where you're going to have James out with the car, and you'll see how tall James is. He's not only tall, but he's quite built. And one thing I've always known, should we get stuck, James will always be able to help me push car. Well, the temperatures here are not bad, and I would say much colder than we have in South Africa in Djuma. We are 13 degrees Celsius and 56 degrees Fahrenheit. So two reasons why maybe that pair of lions just staying there is a bit chilly for them. But I think also maybe for the best part of the night. Sorry, there's a bit of car starting off there. They've been very busy mating, and they might have decided now to slow down. He puts his head up now. I'm not sure what he's thinking, but in the background there, James, I've shown you the beautiful savannah of the Masai Mara. Good morning, sir. Isn't he handsome? Big yawn. Fantastic. That's right. You want to rise up? Rise and shine? Huge boy he is, eh? I have always thought tigers are big, but, well, I do not know what he's up to. And this is the short tail. If you look carefully at him, whoops. Jumbo, good morning, madam. Are you up to anything? She's like, no, rather tired. we got lions here that we call the triangle boys, and this is one of them. And this particular one here, we call him the short tail. If you look carefully, his tail is cut. Come on, what are you guys thinking? Well, we'll find out. They have their own language. They have their own kind of communication. Yeah, final control says that's very beautiful. We are enjoying every bit of this. And the light is very, very beautiful light, glorious light. Sometimes I like calling it the golden light, and James is just putting it right in the middle of the frame there and finding out if anything may happen. He is a bit persistent there, and the girl is, come on, I'm rather tired, give me a bit of space. He is not letting go. Stop it. I don't know whether that's what she's saying. All right, we might want to ask. I'm looking at him. He's a very good-looking, beautiful man, nice mohawk, blending in very well the grass. Time to have a nap. And as I said earlier, it's a mating pair, and depending on the situation, well, she might have given in. I don't know. Not now, honey. Maybe later. I don't know who is more tired of the two. Boom. That happens a lot. And I think she's in charge. And she's dictating until maybe she's ready, is when anything may happen. Well, lions, when they're just starting to mate, they might be mating like 72 times in a day. And we'll be waiting and see whether anything will be happening. But we'll, in the meantime, take you from the beautiful savannah here all the way to Sydney in South Africa.
A very, very good morning and welcome to the beginning of the No Morning Game Drive. I am Sydney and I'm traveling with Senzo, who is my camera operator this morning. I am going to be looking for some of the big cats. Specifically, I am after a group of lions, which has been spotted by the dam camera earlier on, running about 12:30. For the questions and comments, you can follow us on Twitter, #SafariLive. You can also follow us on YouTube chat stream. The weather this morning is overcast and it's not that very cold. It's nice and cool, which is good for the animal activities. Let's see what I'm going to find this morning. I like it a lot when the weather is like this. No wind, nothing. This is good for me in order to conduct trekking. So far, I have just spotted some of the hyena tracks. No cat tracks yet. So I was just trying to check all the boundaries to see if these lions have already crossed. Let's see, Tristan already is on bushwalk.
I am indeed, Sydney. We are out and about using our lower limbs in order to propel ourselves around the reserve, which is going to be quite pleasant, although it is very cloudy, very windy, and quite overcast and grey, and therefore not very pleasant. As Sydney mentioned, my name is Tristan, and on camera today I've got David, and basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going probably southwards and helping Sydney follow these lion tracks. They come from the western side, so we had a look at them. It looks like possibly the Nkuhuma pride, just some of them. Doesn't look like the whole pride was there, but there's definitely some members of the pride that have walked through, and so we're going to try and see which way they go. We're going to cut straight down basically Philemons and see if they came back west a little bit, but I have a feeling that they would have gone east. Now, interestingly enough, when walking around on quarantine, there's some very cool things that happen at night, a lot of which goes relatively unnoticed. Even if we had to come here with vehicles, we wouldn't really pay too much attention to what this is. But this is nice and clear, and it's one of the few that I've seen that is as clear as this. So you've got a little hole that's over here, and then you've got, if you look, a little track that runs through like this, all the way around, and bends through this way and out. Now, basically what this is it's called a run, and it's for a little murid, what we call a murid. So basically a mouse or a gerbil or something like that has made its little burrow, and then this is the track that it uses to run up and down. And all of these little dots that we have are little dots for its feet where it's been running, and you can see it's been quite busy here. It's going up and down all over the place as it goes and forages for food and then back into its little safety point inside the burrow. Very, very cool to see. You sometimes see them in summer months quite easily because the grass is obviously a lot longer, and where they run they basically destroy all the grass that's there. But I haven't seen one in quite some time, so I was quite happy to actually find this one on quarantine now while we've been walking, and it's very, very easy to spot them when they're like this. Sometimes it can be a little bit more tricky, and you'll find that these things, unfortunately, as they develop like this, then you start to get things like snakes and all kinds of other things finding them as well. Right, now we're going to head southwards. We're going to try and get all the way down as quickly as we can to try and give Sydney a hand with these lions. But while we do that, let's send you back across to Steve, who, well, hasn't had to do too much this morning to find the little chief.
Yes, indeed. Well, I'm having a moment of Tristan luck this morning, and we're going to spend the morning sitting very close to camp, watching the little chief do his thing. Well, his head is up. He started looking at a few bushbuck that were running around through in Voyatela camp itself. He doesn't really see the fence. He kind of thinks, oh, there's an animal there. Let me maybe have a go. And he's definitely alert. He's keeping himself very flat, but apart from the bushbuck in the camp, there's nothing else that I can see around. And he still maintains that very low posture, so as not to sort of stand out from a distance. Monkeys would see him from afar and call out, and that would be his camouflage thwarted. He seems to quite enjoy just hanging around the watering hole. It's proven to be quite successful for him, although we haven't actually filmed him catching anything in the daytime. He seems to have a little bit more luck when he's only observed by the dam cam, but we're giving him lots of space here. We're nowhere near him. We're on the other side, giving him lots of space. Anything that does choose to come down would have to get pretty close to him. He's not in the most amount of cover there. John Michael, that's a really good question. I really have no idea. He's not behaving in any... I'm going to maybe give you my thoughts. He has not been behaving like an adult territorial male, so thus is left alone. When he sees Tingana, he behaves a little bit jovially, a little bit like a youngster. He's playful. If he behaved like an adult, well, I reckon his Tingana would have to sort him out. He'd be forced to deal with him. But he's yet to be behaving like that. I know Tristan saw him scent marking the other day. I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that there were hyena nearby. And it's kind of like a challenging sort of thing towards the hyena to say, this is my sort of area. Although I don't think Tingana would take very nicely to him doing that sort of behavior. But I think it's just he's behaving like not a dominant male. So he just gets tolerated. But it is, for me, very new to see this sort of behavior of a male leopard just hanging around and not being challenged at all by the older. And Tingana was left not far from here last night, just around the corner at Gallagher Pan, so he might make an appearance. He's probably watching Hosana, and he's going to wait for him to make a kill before he turns up. And also, excuse me, Hosana's been making a lot of kills that Tingana seems to be enjoying, so why chase someone out who's assisting you in getting nice and plump, which is exactly what is happening. I don't know what he spotted there. He can't see anything on the other side. I don't know if you can, Ferg, but I couldn't see anything. There might be some sounds that he's hearing coming from the distance there. I've had a good scan with my binoculars, but I haven't seen anything over there. There could be a duiker or two just lurking in the bushes that we haven't quite seen. They are very camouflaged. It does seem to have a little bit of a taste for duiker of late, especially hanging around this exact watering hole. We've caught 2 live kills on the dam cam, which is unbelievable. But we're going to be staying right here with Hosanna. The only thing that I think would make him move from the spot is a herd of elephants. And on that note, we're going to fly all the way back up to the Masai Mara, and David has found some elephants.
Well, we have moved from our lions because they were a bit flat and they did not look very active. And now we got some bigger species of animal. We got the Ellis, elephant. And to all of you nice viewers, remember, we'll always have a very humble request to you, as much as you can. Ask as many questions to us. Anything you see interesting, like those two young ones there, and you got a nice comment to make, please feel very free to bring through your comments. As usual, hashtag SafariLive. And we'll always be happy when you keep engaging us. Questions also count a lot. And a nice herd of elephants in the open savannas of the Mara Triangle. So most of these could be females with their young ones, and so many youngsters here. Michelle, how are you today? And very good, and that's a good comment that you are, very excited. We have found elephants. And yes, and we are trying to count how many elephants we got here with James, and we had an estimate of about 40 elephants. 40 elephants, Michelle. I'm happy you love elephants. And of the big animals, Michelle, my favorite animal is the elephants for the things they do, their intelligence, how they relate with themselves, and how they have very strong ties. And that's what I would say. Elephants are my favorite animals, Michelle. I hope you also love them. We'll go back to the Ellis again and just see. And most important, don't forget, from where these elephants are and the pair of the lions we saw earlier, I'm giving it an estimate of about 150 meters odds, give or take 150 meters. That's how close they are to the lions. And the lions, as it is, they're still very flat, and that's why I'm telling James not to put them on the frame until they wake up. But how nice to enjoy the beauty of the Ellis feeding. Very many young ones there. Just, if you stay on that pole, James, if you move to the right a little bit, go the other way, James, go to the right, keep going, stop there. There. You see that very young one there? Teeny baby there. I'm not sure she can even be able to eat. Following mama there, staying very close. She's so young. And this is what we'd call the savanna elephants. We got another type of elephant that's called the forest elephant. Ravinda, how are you today? And always very interesting to hear your name. Where have you been, Ravinda? Maybe it's me who have been there. Oops, it's time to have a little poop break there on that particular one. Ravinda, what do I say? But look at me, Ravinda, at the moment. I got two sets of animals here. I got Ellis to the right, and I got lions. James, can you get the lions for Ravinda? Very good. I hope, Ravinda, you've been watching, you've been on board. And when we started, Ravinda, we started with the lions. And then a few minutes later, we saw the elephants. As I said earlier, they're only about 100 meters apart. Ravinda, just to answer your question, I'm not even sure where I belong at the moment. I will need to spend a few more days here because I've been away on leave and we have not been on live for quite some time. And I'll be able to give you a good answer. But I think I'm like torn between the two, South Africa and here. But maybe having come from Kenya, I got a little bit of an angle, feeling a much home and more comfortable here. But I miss the leopards, Ravinda, and I'm sure you know it. Yeah, like, for example, now Steve got Hosanna. I miss those leopards, and I left my good friend Tingana there. So I would say I'm like torn half-half. Hello, trunks up. That's a being very playful youngsters. And look at them. They should be eating, but at this age, just like any youngsters, they have so much energy. And if I'm assuming they're still nursing, they're not worried. The mom is eating. Mom will have a lot of nutrition to take, and then they'll nurse later. Really, stuff. I guess your question is the differences maybe between the elephants in the Mara and in Juma in South Africa. One, I would say, the numbers. In the Mara, if James is going to pan all these Ellis together, you might see at times almost 50 Ellis together. You could see 50 Ellis together, or sometimes even 100. That I rarely saw in Juma in South Africa. And if you remember, my mentor and my senior James Henry kept saying that he thought the elephants here in the Mara are more angular in shape than the ones in Juma, and I would want to agree with him. So if we'll get a chance to get them coming much closer to us, we'll be able to see that. And their morphology is a little different than the ones in South Africa. And so we got a big truck passing there, but there are also people who I'm sure they're excited just like us and will be coming to join us to watch the Ellis. Beautiful Ellis, and anytime I always said you see Ellis is a great day, is a beautiful day. And let's find out if Hosanna is up to anything or not.
Oh, isn't David always just the most enthusiastic individual? Well, Hosanna is up to something, David. He's moved into the small little bit of grass cover there is there, and he's decided to give himself a proper licking. We're not going to get too much into the detail of where and what he's licking, but he is cleaning himself right now in a little bit of shelter. I looked away for a second and he moved into that little bit of grass and he just disappeared. So that is exactly what he's doing. He's going to try and vanish in or merge into the surrounding vegetation around the pan. He's done this a few times and then wait for the animals to come down in their droves to drink. That is definitely what's going on in his mind, and he has done it before, albeit unsuccessful at times. Chris, yeah, we think Hosanna's been to the camp. Yesterday morning, Tristan was with him at Gallagher Pan, and then he lost him. He walked straight in towards the new rooms where some of our staff are staying. None of us looked for the tracks, but he was scratching around in there looking for Hosanna yesterday morning, should I say. And then we used the drone from a distance to get Hosanna and to get a view of him coming out. So he has been through the camp. I know that a couple months ago, just when the new rooms had been built, Kirsty and Rebecca, when she was still here, they bumped into him on their way down to their room after dinner. So he is not a shy leopard. He does come into camp. We don't have an electric fence around our camp for cats. We have one for elephant, a 2-strand sort of about 2 meter high fence that just keeps elephants from coming in, but it's completely accessible underneath. And we have had a few leopards coming through. Tingana's walked through, Hosanna's walked through, Tandi's definitely walked through, Shadulu most definitely. Tandi was actually in camp a couple months ago as well. I know Ralph was following her, and she went right into the maintenance area. It was very interesting because there are lots of animals that like to hang around in those camps. Bushbuck and Yala, who get a little bit complacent. And when they're complacent, they may be a little bit easier to catch. They're not coming in there for any other purpose. Just some smells attracting them. Isn't he a beautiful fellow? With his pink nose. I don't think he got anything to eat yesterday. So he's going to be very keen to catch something this morning. But while we wait and play the patience game with the little chief, it appears as though Sydney has found some tracks.
I have got some lion tracks here right now with me. I just want to try and circle it so that you can see it very nicely where I am now. These tracks, they look not that very old. I can see that these lions, they have been here. Senzo, if you can be able to see nicely here, they are very much nice and clear. It's showing that the activities has been here. It's not just a single track. It's showing that it was a group of lions. Not too sure how many they were, but these lions went towards the eastern side of the game reserve. Here I can see they were very relaxed, even lying on the road. So from here, I will be heading towards eastern direction and see if we can be lucky with them. By this time of the morning, lions, they can walk very long distances because it's just when they are about to go and rest. So I just want to try and see if I can catch them just before they go and rest. So I'm going to have to check all these areas very much quickly. Otherwise, I am going to lose them if they are still in the property. Tristan, my other colleague on a guided walk, he is now busy trying to assist me finding these lions. Let's see his updates.
Well, we're going to try, Sydney. We're going to try and get into that area as quick as we can. It's still quite far from where we are, and being on foot takes us a little bit longer, but we are going to cut through. Herbie has an idea where he reckons those tracks will come out, so we should be okay in getting to that area and helping Sydney and hopefully finding them. The good news is that somebody did drive Cheetah Cut Line and they haven't crossed over there, so hopefully they're around. But what we came across in this area is quite interesting, is that now in winter things are very, very dry. We don't see too much water lying around, and we know that's why Hosanna is spending a lot of time where he is. But in summer, this whole section is going to become a massive mud wallow that will be inside here, and it's why in summer we struggle to find a lot of the cats as easily, because they find places like this in the middle of a block and they're able to then drink from here. But what's happened in this particular section is that probably during the drought in 2016 there was very little grass cover and a bit of water probably fell. What that then led to is things like buffalo and elephants coming in and starting to have a bit of a mud wallow. And so what's happened is elephants have actually dug here when it was still very muddy. You can see on the edges where the mud was, this is the elephant's footprints all the way around, and so they came in, they would have dug out, and this is how natural little pans start to form. So as this happens now next year when it rains again, this is going to fill up quite nicely, and it's going to be an area that elephants will come again, and they're going to mud bathe, and they're going to kick and break this all open, and it'll slowly but surely start to expand, and eventually we're going to end up with a big pan that will develop here, and over time it will become one that will be used by a lot of different animals. So it just goes to show how sometimes natural events will occur that will start to get mud wallows going. And even though we have pans and dams that we try and kind of make, nature will provide for a lot of species by having these kind of little pans starting to develop. And eventually, like I say, it will grow into a big thing as the ellies and the buffalo and various other animals break it up and start to make it bigger. Anyway, off we go. We're going to try and find these lions and see if we can help Sydney while we do that. It sounds like David up in the Masai Mara, well, has already found his lions for the morning.
Here it comes. Well, we got the males still laying down there, and he just rose up a little bit. He hasn't done much. We're just waiting to see if he'll have a bit of activity. But the most beautiful thing about this particular male, it's the male. We got 4 of these male lions here that we call the triangle boys, and he is the largest in size and the most handsome of them all. Look at him. And the female, rather tired, she earlier woke up, turned around a few times, and she went straight down. The male also woke up. And if you pan to the left, James, a little bit, you're going to see the elephants are coming towards the direction of these lions. Let me see what might happen. But James, if you move to the left, look at how close they are. And this particular one is walking towards these lions, and chances are they might wake up and relocate. I mean, the ellies have or will definitely outnumber these 2 lions here. So that's the first one there, and you can see them streaming and taking the direction towards the lions, one after the other. And chances are, I'm counting not more than 5 minutes before these lions will have to reposition themselves and give way to the ellies. Not sure whether they are aware they're behind them. Sorry, I'm not sure I have issues with my comms. Now, very good, James. We got Carol, how are you? And I guess your question is, how old is this lion? I wouldn't know exactly how old he is, but I can tell you for a fact, Carol, he is definitely over 10 years. By virtue of his size, by the size of the mane, and how dark it is, I would guess he's fully matured, he's fully grown. And so you might be hearing some engines running left, right next to us. Just people also enjoying this beauty. But I would say, Caro, he is definitely over 10 years. That's guess, give or take about 10 or 11 years of age. And we call him the short tail. If you're lucky to see him, Caro, when he is standing up, you'll notice that his tail is cut and is missing the tuft at the back. I wouldn't know what might have happened to him, but he's missing part of the tail, and we call him the short tail. We call them the 4 triangles or triangle boys. So 3 could be some other place, but this particular one here is in charge and very, very sleepy, very snoozy. Must have been very active maybe the whole night. But look at that beautiful mohawk he got. Snooze, make sure you don't fall over to your girl as you sleep. I've always wondered if lions at this particular time, they have such deep sleep, such snooze, and they dream what they would be dreaming about. Sorry, Megan, what did Gemini ask? Gemini, how are you today? And your question is, would the elephants attack the lions? Ideally not. But what would happen is, they may not understand what these animals or cats look like, and will definitely warn them out of the way. Big lions have been known to go for baby elephants, and definitely the mothers, especially the females, the cows will not want the lions anywhere close to their babies. And what they would want to do is just to intimidate the lions and get out of here. And the lions, naturally, will reposition themselves and give way to the ellis. We'll be watching them very, very closely as they come in close and find out the very first one there, which I would guess could be the matriarch, which is leading the way. And is anything under 4 minutes before these two species come close together. And we'll see who will chicken out first. But my guess is the lions will have to move. These elephants are just too many for them. And naturally, they may need to get a room elsewhere. And how majestic to see the ellis in the beautiful Mara Triangle just walking through the savannah, through the grass. Too sleepy boy. Come on, Shortail. Not sure at the moment he got the energy to keep going. He might have to wait a little bit. But one interesting thing I've found about these particular felines, unlike all the other cats, when the female is ready, naturally the male has to be. Unlike, we human beings, females will always initiate when the mating should start, and the males always have no option. Beautiful man he got. Of the 4 triangle boys, I think this is the most handsome one. Getting a bit of flies on the ticks, and he keeps flicking his ears. Let's find out. Steve got a feathered friend all the way in South Africa.
Yes, well, they found us, should I say, a group of green woodhoopers, and they landed and they started doing their allomimetic behavior. I think there's about 5 of them, and they were all calling together and chirping together, and a few trees to our left-hand side was another group that came together, and they kind of have sort of set their boundary through their calling, and now they are using their beaks to probe into the tree and into the bark to access all the little larvae and grubs and beetles that might be in there. There we go. Look at that. You got a little bit of something. They're gonna go again now. Have a listen. Okay, no, they didn't. They just sold us a dummy there. That is not one. What is that? Okay, well, I'm going to play the call for you quickly. Have a listen. Let's It's going to cause them to they're above you here, Ferg. 4 of them. You can hear that call. It's quite sort of high-pitched, up and down. The local name for it is called Hlegabafazi, which means cackling woman, because it sounds like a bunch of ladies sitting around having a long chat, doesn't it? And there, after they've done their allomimetic calling, they then it's time to start feeding, because the other troop or the other flock is not coming in to invade their space. This is their space, and they're going to move through the tree, holding on quite nicely with their well-adapted feet and probing into all the cavities they possibly can with their beaks. Very special to see. So I never made up the name Hlegabafazi. It is the local Zulu name. Glenn, the sound sounded like your starter in your old Ford truck. Well, I think you might need to get your Ford truck checked. A little bit of a start and a stop. But you see that very long tail? It's black and white stripes. Very long red beak, and the females have actually got a shorter beak than the males. That looks like a female to me. Seems like she's caught something. And the reason why the male and females have got different length in beaks is so that they don't compete with each other within the same flock. They're able to feed at different levels and different depths, so there's no competition between the group itself. But they are known as cooperative breeders. They will band together to assist in the rearing of only one group of chicks. There we go. Looks like he's got a leaf. Sorry about the aerial there before. The birds are not staying put in one place. There's a buffalo weaver now. But marvellous. The birds are all moving through. Oh, making a little bit of nest. The buffalo weaver has gone and caught a nice branch of marula. A nice marula branch, is now going to take it in. There's a change of the sheets today, it seems. Monday is the changing of the sheets, and that buffalo weaver, living in a community, is now gone and made a new bed for itself, or was going to anyway. They woke up about 25 minutes ago and have not stopped chirping since they woke up. And these balls of sticks that we see are where they roost. They nest there and they roost there. And the thermal camera, when we actually look at them at night, actually shows how warm these things are still in the middle of the morning, or early morning, in the middle of the night. They're still very warm, and that is the objective, is to keep these birds warm in the winter months. Red-billed buffalo weaver, one of the small 5 because of the word buffalo in its name. Okay, well, from buffalo weavers in the small 5 category, we're going to be going all the way up to the Masai Mara to say good morning to Brent Leo Smith with one of the big 5 animals of his own.
You live?
Hmm?
You live?
Oh, hello. Sorry, it seems like I've lost my communications, but good morning and welcome to the Masai Mara. My name is Brent Leo Smith. I have a VM on camera, and we're with some of the ladies of the Sausage Tree Pride. Now, there are 4 here, so one is still missing. She's been missing for about 3 weeks now. We haven't seen her, so we are a bit concerned. There has been such upheaval in the last little while. Now, after we saw the Owinyo Pride chasing the Sausage Tree Pride a few mornings ago, the Sausage Tree Pride went and got some reinforcements. So Kinky Tail and the lioness we call Tree, she seems to climb the trees the most often, went and got the mother and Limpy. So that's what they got. Now, this is the same area the first afternoon we went live in the Mara, and I showed it to you, and there was a complete lack of animals down here. And this is the area the Sausage Tree Pride have been hiding in. But if we look on the horizon at the moment, the migration is not far off. And who is this who's eating at the moment? Is this Tree? I think it's Tree. Yes, it is Tree. And they're eating a young wildebeest calf that they obviously caught early this morning. We were here in the dark and they were already feeding on it. And that's probably why there are no wildebeest close to us at the moment. But as the day progresses, I'm sure the migration is going to move towards us. There we go. We've got some others lying down over there. Kinky tail and the limpy one are over there somewhere. And then, oh, there's the other in the road. And just heads popped up. Oh, there we go. You can see an ear or two there. Now remember, this is 100% live from the Masai Mara in Kenya. Hashtag SafariLive if you have any questions for us. Isn't this gorgeous? Quite windy, quite cold today. And there's almost nothing left of that poor little wildy. So Gemini, the unfortunate little animal that is being scoffed upon, is a young wildebeest, born probably in February or January, no, probably February this year, a couple of 100 kilometers from here on the southern plains of Tanzania, and it's not going to make it past its first migration. A lot of the lions tend to focus on those youngsters, inexperienced and haven't quite got the hang of this avoiding tooth and claw thing yet. So that's what's happening there. So a lot of the young wildebeest that are born this year are being eaten by the lions, the hyenas, the leopards, the cheetah at the moment. So our plan for the whole day today is we're going to sort of hunker down around the Sausage Tree Pride and wait for the migration to come towards us. Now, while us in the Mara are lucky enough to have lions in the bag, poor Sydney is still searching for lions in South Africa.
I am now still looking for these tracks, and I've got quite a lot of help now. I've just met the bushwalk as well. They are looking for these tracks on foot, so the chances of maybe seeing the lions is not very there, because the last time they've been seen here, it was about a few hours ago, and these animals, cats, can travel very long distances. So now I'm just going to try and check all the boundaries, because it seems like now they are deep in this block. Carol, not all animals are using the kind of scent marks. We do have territorial animals. Territorial animals are those ones that normally demarcate, and some they use scent marks, some they use urine, some they use kind of droppings, and some are territorial and they don't mark at all, such as the waterbuck. Yeah, I've got the tracks now going that way, this way and that way. See there? Yeah, so I've just picked up some tracks now going just from the direction where I came from. I'm not too sure if these tracks are right on top of my tracks. Can you see that? So I'm just going to quickly now inform the bushwalk team. Heavy coming. I got the tracks now heading towards the direction where I came from. They are now going back where I'm heading to now. So now I'm just trying to follow these tracks up. Yes, they are heading towards the direction where we have just met now. So now let's see, David, he does have some lions at the moment while I am tracking the Juma lions. So these tracks are looking very much fresh.
Well, the Ellies decided to respect the lions. They passed, I would say, give or take 10-15 meters away from these lions. And apart from one youngster, one young bull who, tried to trumpet and scare the lions, and the lions almost moved, the rest of them just looked, and I think the matter I would get a bit close, and not much. We're still waiting to see, or there might be to see some action of this one male of the 4 triangle ball. One to me is my favorite. He is always very strong, very good looking, and we are hoping at one point or another we shall have some seeing an action of him. Anna Marie, how are you? And always a pleasure to hear your name. And great question, does the male ever hurt the female when it bites its neck? I would say no. We'll go back to the lion and find out. Because when you look at the position of the neck when they are mating, I would say it's more of a ritual. If we would compare that to human beings, it's like when we kiss, and you might wonder, do we hurt our tongues when we kiss? I would say, Anna Marie, the male lion does not hurt the female, because if it would, you'd notice that does not happen again, and the female would make sure that he doesn't bite her neck. So Anna Marie, I would say, sorry about that noise on the engine of another car they are moving. Anna Marie would say he does not hurt her, and it's more of a ritual. When, after making love, goes like, yes, all good, and I really enjoyed it. So I would say he doesn't hurt her. Sometimes you have seen also females trying to turn around after they finish mating and trying also to bite the males, but I also would want to say that also does not hurt the males. You have seen after about 100 or so days, when the females give birth to the young cubs in a particular den, every few weeks they'll always relocate the cubs to a new den, and the mothers or the females will always get them by the nape of their necks, and that does not hurt them. And you would imagine they hold that with their teeth. So I would guess could be the same explanation here, where the male will bite the female on the neck after mating without actually hurting it. I'm imagining the muscle and the amount of fur on the back of the neck is enough to give it, pretty good caution not to hurt it. Ideally, it, I would say, as I said earlier, is kind of a ritual on when they are mating. And my brother Tristan loves making tracks in the bush.
Well, we do. I thoroughly enjoy tracking as much as I can, and it's always very pleasant to be out and doing a bit of tracking. But as we were walking along trying to find any sign of the lion tracks, we just came across a few little pieces that were lying on the ground. So basically what we've got is we've got a massive tooth over here that is kind of broken apart and basically very worn. This is an old tooth. You can actually see how through weathering it's starting to become quite frail, and bits are falling off. You can see where a little chip is taken out there. There's cracks that have developed. Lots and lots of weathering has taken over this particular tooth itself, and you can see actually where the roots would have gone inside there. But what's of most interest while we've been here is this. So as you can see, we've got a small little elephant tusk. So this is a tiny tusk. Is very little. It would have only been about that much that would have shown. So you can actually see this is what was sticking out. If I take my fingers away, you can actually see where the lip line was and how deep it went into the head. Now what happened to this elephant, I have absolutely no idea. It is a very old tusk. You can actually see where the same thing as the tooth, it's being weathered completely. It's starting to chip and crack and dry, and even the covering, the hard outer covering, is starting to break off now and wear away. So this is a very old tusk that's been here. It's a young elephant. I would say probably an elephant that's no more than maybe 7-8 years old. roughly, given the size of this tusk that died here. Now, when that was, I have absolutely no idea, but it must have been quite some time ago. But interesting to see. Now, obviously, tusk is very valuable in many reasons. It's obviously poached quite a lot, and many people go after it. But a piece of tusk this size is pretty much useless, and especially in the condition that it's in. And so for us, we wouldn't really do much with this. We'd just probably put it back right where it is and not really keep it for any reason. It's not got any commercial value at all at this size. Now, I was trying to look inside to see if maybe something was living inside, because there is obviously that hollow and you can see a bit of dirt, but no actual spiders or anything that might be living in there. Good. Well, we're going to carry on. We're going to try and get onto these lion tracks, try and see where they've gone. I have a funny feeling they've gone quite far from where we are, and in the meantime, Brent Leo Smith is being kept busy by his sausage tree lionesses.
Here we go. One of the sausage tree girls just gone for a little wander. You can see scattered wildebeest herds everywhere, and off to our right. Oh, let's have a look here. Now that little wildebeest is pretty much vanished right now. So she's covering up the stomach content now, scraping the grass over to try and keep other predators away. Now, this is an instinctive response, even though most other predators are just focused on the migration at the moment, so there's not too much competition. Carol is asking how many lions in this pride. There are traditionally 4 adult lioness, but we have only been, 5 adult lioness, but we've only been seeing 4 for the last while. Hey, big girl. You eat all that baby wildy. And there are 2 young males and 1 large male. The young males and the large male have actually been mating with another pride at the moment, so they're quite far from here, probably 10-12 kilometers from where we are at the moment. This is the second most southwest we've seen the sausage tree pride before. We've seen them once before when they were being chased by the Winyos a little bit further to the south. But traditionally, they haven't been in this area, and of course, it's all these wildebeest that are bringing them in. I think she's going for a drink, so let's follow her after finishing off that little wildy. They're in an ideal spot because as the day heats up, the wildebeest often come down to drink in the Kishangai stream or the Kishangai Laga, which is where we are. So I think as it heats up, the wildebeest that are just on the edge there are going to come down and drink here, and the lions are in a perfect ambush site. Lots of nice, thick, long grass. The lions can absolutely disappear into this grass. No. It's a very different ecosystem here to what we have in the Sabi Sands, Ravinda. Ravinda's asking, are there any man-made water holes in the Mara? Inadvertently, some Murram pits, which is excavations quarries, where the road teams get their soil from to fix the roads, where the machinery dig, that when it rains they fill with water, so they become water points, but they're not actually made for the animals to drink from. Now, to give you an idea, Djuma's average rainfall is 300 to 350 millimeters of rain a year. The Mara, on the other hand, can go up to 800, 1,000, so there is always water, and it rains throughout the year. She's just having a morning ablution before getting to the water. So there is enough water. These little rivers and streams hold water throughout the year. So you can just see in there. The main point of the stream is actually up ahead. It's a sort of split into 2 or 3 little channels around here, and you can see by how green the grass is where we are now, as opposed to up away from the river up here. You can see how dry it is as you go up onto the top. So there's no real need for man-made water holes here. Those wildebeest are coming in closer now. Let's have a look. I think there's a nice deep pool of water over there, and there's another one just over here. So I wonder which one she's going to go have a drink at. Looks like she might be heading down to that one there. Or she could have decided she's still hungry and wants to go catch another wildebeest. So far, the wildebeest are still staying in the southern area where they've been for a couple of days now. And last year, we were never able to show you this area. So we've got a new repeater on the hill up there, and that is enabling us to come to this area. And this is my favorite area of the Mara, and also quite far off the normal beaten tourist tracks. So we don't see too many other vehicles down here. Now, with the migration being here, it is a little bit busier, but nothing compared to some of the more popular areas in the Mara. Well, maybe she wants to go catch another wildy. Wasn't enough for her, that little one. So there we go. You can see the wildebeest on the horizon. Well, our lion is up and on the move. Let's go to a lazy Stivovo.
Yeah, well, we thought we lost him, but he'd just gotten so flat on the other side of that log that we didn't see him hiding there. So we came around onto the other side of that fallen tree, and, well, there he is, ladies and gentlemen, flat. His belly doesn't look full at all. He's panting with quite even breaths, which goes to indicate that he is not full. Because generally you find when the leopards or lions have got a lot of meat in their belly, the tummy pushes the diaphragm and they get these very shallow breaths. And his breathing there is quite regular. He's just hiding behind that log because the wind is coming from the other direction. There's a good chance he's just trying to keep out of that cool air to keep his body relatively warm. There's not been an antelope on the horizon at all this morning. Hello, Kalena. Well, there's a very interesting question. First of all, we should be using torches so we don't bump into them without seeing them. But most of our staff village is sort of enclosed, so the rooms are very close to each other, so we don't normally get leopards in there. But the new rooms that are about 50 odd meters away from ours, there are some lights there, and it's very important to walk with a torch so that you don't bump into a leopard walking down. But what do? You don't run, first of all, and you just shine the torch at it, and then you'll walk backwards, back to where you came from, and then wait for it to move off. That is essentially all you can do. You'd never try and shout at it or chase it or anything like that. The leopard is going to invariably want to move away from you. But it's important to use a torch so that you can see it. You don't walk too close to it, because sometimes if you don't see a leopard, it might just crouch lower to the ground. So ideally you need to see it 20, 30, 40 meters away from you, and then you just stop and walk backwards. Don't turn your shoulder. Walk backwards and go back to some sort of cover or room, and then maybe what some of the staff will do is they might call one of us and we'll come and assist them. But it does happen from time to time. One of the things we do have often is a hyena coming right into camp, close to the dustbins and to the kitchen. And about a few weeks ago, it was actually grabbing plates out of the sink, which was very, very annoying because, you know, can you imagine a hyena grabbing one of a few plates out of a metal sink? It is not the quietest of sounds at 1, 2 in the morning. And many times I've had to chase it. But we haven't had that happen in some time now. We've changed a few measures in camp, and it seems to be working. Poor Hosanna. Very lazy. It's been a long night looking for food. He is not full of energy. He's not active at all, but he will wake up as soon as something shows itself or reveals itself. He'll be up and at him, and you'll be right here with us. But we're going to go all the way back up to the Mara. David has got mating lions.
Well, from my spotted cat to my lion, and the short tail has stood up, and look at him grimacing. What a beautiful lion he is. And he is sniffing the ground, and I'm trying to imagine finding out the fertility of his lady, and then grimacing and just smelling what he can pick up, and most likely find out the fertility of her. And I think she is still in very good shape. It's time to have a wee break for himself. Scrape as usual, like most cats will do. And look at the size of that mane. Do you want to move to your gal and ask her what she's up to? Still enjoying the nap after having been kept busy by the short tail. And now if you go to the tail there, James, you can see why we call him the short tail. And you notice he's missing part of the tail. So of the three triangle boys, this is the short tail. There's one called the fang. See, I wouldn't know what might have happened to that bit. Well done, James. Was it born like that? Was it cut by another male when fighting? Was it some infection? Was it some sickness? Whatever might have happened, I have no idea. But either way of the three, he looks very solid to me. Do you want to lay down? Close to your gal? All right, you turn, boom. During the mating time, sometimes they may sleep for a long time. Naturally or traditionally, lions tend to spend most of their time sleeping 15, 18, 20 hours in a day napping. But of course, when they're mating, it's a very special time for them, and it's a very sacred ritual, so they don't have much time to sleep. And as I said earlier, when they start mating, they go sometimes 30, 40 or 50 times mating in one day. There have been cases of recorded, or cases where it has been recorded of them, mating like 70 plus times in a day. And the female just put her head up. I'm not sure what she's looking at a distance, but they have been known at times not even to eat anything during this 6, 7, 8, or at most 10 days time when they are mating. It's a very sacred ritual for them, and they treat it very religiously, and I wouldn't know how they survive for all that period without eating. Joshua, how are you today? And that's a very good question. And after the honeymoon or the period they'll be together, you'd like to know how many cubs in a litter. And the average is always 3. And sometimes you have seen 1, but a maximum of 4 cubs in a litter. So after about 100 or 105 days, that's the gestation period for the lionesses, they'll always drop their cubs in a secluded area, like in a den, and that will be anything between 1 to 4. The largest number I've seen of, lioness having cubs is 4, but sometimes 1, sometimes 2, sometimes 3. And Joshua will tell you, they face so many challenges because out of that, maybe they lose 80% of those cubs before they can mature and become independent. And one of the biggest challenges they face is starvation, and sometimes they also face challenges of other predators, for example, hyenas. Well, the male is still sleeping. Let's find out if the female is looking at something there. And Stivovo, what is your latest?
Yes, well, look what we've got coming down to drink. It's a little bit tentative. Little brown-headed parrot. Very pretty bird. He doesn't want to get his feet wet. A little bit muddy there. I don't know if you just heard that squeaky sound. There's the sound they make. Sounds like a rusty gate. There's I think another one just landed off to the left of it. There we go. got a very dry diet. They feed on seeds, and they have quite a nice sort of taste for the silver cluster leaf seed pods. A lot of the seed pods very dry, so important for them to come and drink. But you can see they're not the most agile of walkers on the ground. Their feet are well adapted for them to walk through the trees, but they don't look very at home on the ground. But very important to come and have a drink quite regularly. And we do know that there's a nesting pair somewhere nearby, just north of the, also south of the pan here. One of these dead trees, a little cavity nest. Okay, well, thirst is always something that needs to be quenched, and no doubt animals will be coming down and joining these birds soon. Hosana might lift his head, because predators not only like to hang around watering holes, they like to drink as well.
Well, she's finished drinking, unfortunately. She sort of looked at the wildebeest, then thought, you know what, too much effort. I'm going to go have a drink and go lie down in the shade again with the rest of the pride. Wait for the wildebeest to come to me. Now, remember, if you have any questions, hashtag SafariLive is the way to get hold of us. Actually, hang on. She's looking quite pretty in that light. Or just sniffing. Oh yeah, let's catch up with them. Good morrow, Steve. Steve is wondering, how long does the migration last? Well, Steve, it never ends, but it's only in Kenya for 2 to 3 months. Now, it is completely dependent. It changes from year to year. For example, this year, the first of the wildebeest only really came into this area about a week ago. Whereas last year they'd already been here for over a month, and it just depends on rains locally and in Tanzania every year. So, oh, there's a big rock. So it changes every year, but generally in Kenya 2 to 3 months, and then sometimes as long as 4 or 5 months. So it all just depends on local rains. And this year there's been an enormous amount of rain in both Tanzania and in Kenya, which has meant there's a lot more grass than there was last year. So the migration hasn't had to move as far or as fast to get the same nutrients as it had before. Oh, she's moved quite quickly. I have to catch up with her. Oh, there she is. She'll probably go join Kinky Tail and the others under the tree. One lioness went for a wander off that way. The other two are under those trees there. Oh no, she's still over there, still sniffing about. Okay, well, we're going to figure out what the sausages get up to next. While we do that, let's go see how Sydney's search for South African lions is going.
I have got some tracks now. I have got some tracks now showing that these tracks are very much fresh. These ones are fresher than the one I saw before. I've been going in circles here to try and find these lions. Senzo, can you see this track nicely from that side? Okay, so here I can see that these lions are still in the area. I'm not alone here. I have got some other vehicles trying to assist me to find these lions. and they have been hunting a lot. We have seen some of the signs that these lions, they are on a hunt at the moment, and the weather is suitable for that. So not too sure if they are very close to where I am now, or they already gone towards the western side of the game reserve. When they started, tracks were going east and then east. Now they're facing west. They're just going all directions. So we are still trying. We might be lucky and find them, because that one has also been confirmed by some of my colleagues that no, these lions, they are really on a hunt. They're just going in circles. So I'm going to carry on hunting again now and see if we can find them. See, the tracks here are coming that side. Tracks are just going backwards, forwards. Maybe we're going to be lucky. Maybe they've already caught something in this area, because they're not on the road anymore. Safari Sally is quite very easy to see whether the track is fresh or not. In the mornings like this, the tracks on the ground, some of the insects, they go over them. I prefer to use one of the insects called an antlion. If I find an antlion over the lion track, I know that that track, it means it has been there. If the antlion is on top of the lion track, it means the track has been there before 7:30. But if I find that the lion is on top of the antlion tracks, and then I can use that as well to say it means this lion has been there after 7:30, because those kind of insects, they wake up at that time and they draw the lines on the ground. So their lines helps me in order to judge the tracks. But sometimes the wind does blow the tracks. So if the tracks in the morning, they are not clearly visible, then I can see it's an old track. But if it's not blown, it's just nice and clear, fresh, I can see that this is a very new track. So let's see, Tristan, maybe Tristan has got something.
Well, Sydney, we're not far from you at all. We can hear you driving behind us. The tracks come into this block and they definitely were hunting. They were chasing impalas around in here, so it's just working out now exactly which way the tracks go. But basically they went south, turned, came back north, and they've now pushed west into the block going towards Vulture's Nest. So we're just walking very, very slowly and just listening and trying to look out for any signs. We think, well, Herbie and I are under the impression that if they haven't come out on Vulture's Nest, then they must have grabbed something like an impala, eaten it already, and now they're just lying down full-bellied. So we're just having a little look around. It's important when you walk like this, especially in thicker areas, to try and keep your head up more than actually looking down. So a lot of people, when they start tracking, make the mistake of kind of looking down like this the whole time and just watching the ground. You actually need to be looking up, and every now and then just drop your eyes and see if there's a track on an open section. But otherwise, it's important to try and just keep looking, making sure that if they are up ahead of you, that you spot them before they spot you and give you a bit of a hard time. Now, lions generally are not too bad, particularly the Nkuhuma Pride. They're quite nice. Now, David's just doing some... Well done, David. Very good shuffle through there. His antenna otherwise was going to catch. So I took a very bad route for poor David to get through. But I'm just going to check and see if they cross over Vulture's Nest. Well, Tatiana, I mean, fairly safe. We're very, very fortunate that we have Herbie with us. So Herbie has got his rifle and is very competent in knowing animal behavior and can try and work it out and will protect us from that point of view. But there's always an element of risk about being out on foot. Remember, wild animals see people as a threat. They don't see people as something that is, you know, that they can just walk up to. They know that that's a threat. And so depending on the situation, will either be aggressive or try and run away. So they have a fight or flight response. And so you've got to be very careful. You've got to watch what you're doing, particularly when you're tracking stalking lions or leopard or elephants, especially breeding herds, you need to pay attention as to what you're doing and always err on the side of caution. So it's one of the reasons why a lot of training guys used to do walking training where they wouldn't give anybody anything but a stick. They would just let them walk like this, and because when you have a rifle, people then tend to take chances because they then know that they can have the backup of the rifle. When you've just got a stick, you don't have that ability, and so you've got to basically try and think about what you're doing, err on the side of caution, and just try and stay as far away from getting yourself into trouble as possible. So it's a good way to learn. It's obviously a tougher way to learn because you've got to be a bit careful, and when you're new to the bush, it's a bit daunting walking around with just a stick and nothing else by yourself, but you learn quite fast, and if you do things cleverly and you do things the right way, then you can actually walk fairly safely out here and should be just fine. Right, now nothing coming out onto Vulture's Nest where I thought it might. We're going to walk up and down. Actually, here the tracks are right here. So here we can see the tracks, and before we do that, let's send you to Brent.
Well, two of the lionesses are definitely far more alert than the other two, which are completely flat. Our wildebeest are moving a lot quicker than I thought they were going to this morning. So if we have a look, you see them there. And so they're the ones on top of the ridge. But if we come across to the right, there's a line that's sort of heading in our general direction now. Not all of them, but there's enough to definitely keep the lions interested. The wildebeest might be thirsty, heading down here for a drink. Where's that second lioness gone? There she is there. So you can see how hard they are to spot in this thick, rank riverine grasses. So it makes ideal ambush territory for these lions. Definitely keeping an eye on the wildebeest as they march through. There's actually some surrounding us at the moment. Now, it's a very interesting question from Bobby. Do Mara lions have more black on their ears compared to the ones in SA? So, Bobby, I actually think no, they're not born with more black, but there are less stable flies in the Mara. So, most of that hair on the back of a lion's ears in South Africa is quite often bitten off by the little biting flies that harass the lions there. We do have biting flies here, but there's such a vast number of animals, especially with the migration, that the biting flies don't seem to take as much or pay much attention to the lions and other predators as they do to the lions and the leopards and the hyenas at Djuma. Now, of course, I can't be 100% sure, but that's my personal theory on it. I would say they're not born with more black or less black. I'd say that the biting flies bite them more at Djuma, and therefore they lose that hair on the back of their ears. Listening very carefully to everything that's going on. Hey girls. Oh, we're going to flop here now. Well, I suppose now we've flopped in two different ambush positions, about 100 meters apart. So if the wildebeest go through the middle, there's going to be big trouble. Okay, well, our lions rest up in the lugger. Let's send you back to South Africa and Steve, who's got a pugnacious track.
Yes, we do. We found some very cool tracks here, and we're getting out the car, obviously, to point them out. Always nice to put down a knife to get sort of the size comparison. Here is the back foot. See the knife there to show the size. And here is the front foot over here. Difference in size, but you can clearly see these claw marks over here. Ferry, can you see them? Nice claw marks. Here's the toes. There's a 1, 2, 3, and 4 toes, and lots of pads over here, going all the way to this side here. And you see that foot. Now, if I show you that with the book, there is the track of the honey badger. You can see 11 centimeters, so a little bit bigger than my knife. And the claw marks, very characteristic in the front for digging. And it's regarded as a plantigrade track, so similar to us, where they put down their entire foot, not just like lions that just have the toes and a little bit of the foot. We put down, like honey badgers, porcupines, monkeys, humans, all put down the entire track on the ground. And another way to identify this as not a porcupine is the distance between. If I can show you here, here's the back of the one, and here is the second, and then here is the third track, all the way back over there. So the distance between these three is enormous because the honey badger does not walk. It's constantly on the move. A very nice sort of shuffling motion. He just goes really, really quickly, whereas a porcupine is the small sort of shuffling sort of creature and doesn't cover too much distance. So you'd get a porcupine track, you get one there, and one there. But here you've got two within the same space. So if I also draw a little bit of a line, you can see that the line pretty much goes through the middle of all three of those tracks, because when an animal's moving quickly, it essentially runs in a line. If you had to walk and measure how you walk, your hips are hip distance apart, but as soon as you start running, you run on a line, and that's what a honey badger is constantly doing. It's constantly moving at speed. That is why the distance is quite far, and it's also why you can easily draw a line between the three. You'd never be able to draw a line between porcupine tracks. There would be one there, there would be one outside over here, and then there'd be one over there again. So it's a nice, easy way. So these are quite fresh. These are from last night. We're not going to follow up. I'd love to be able to find you a honey badger, but it's just so fantastic to be able to see that they are around doing their thing. And obviously, you can tell that while I'm off here, we moved away from Hosanna because he was doing absolutely nothing. We're going to see if we can follow up on the Duke around a Galago pan, and then we're going to go back to him. But while we do that, David Gitu is all the way up in the Mara, and he is still with his feline lions.
Wow, what a timing. Short tail, well done. I have to keep quiet for some time now. Well done. Boom, she goes. Short tail, what are you thinking? Excellent, very good job. This is what you've been waiting for. I'll bet short this is done very frequently, and as I said, when they just maybe beginning to mate, it could be like 60, 72 times in a day. And yeah, Megan, the final control, says very nice. It's something we see, but we never take it for granted when we see lions mating. They do not have a particular time or season for mating, and they may mate all around the year, but chances are they tend to mate more when they have enough to eat, when there's abundant or available food. They tend to mate more, but they do not have a particular breeding season for them to mate. You look so beautiful, girl. No wonder Shorttail chose you to mate with. Joshua, good question you're asking whether male lions may mate with more than one lioness. Yes, and so long as the female is in estrus or she is in heat, you might see one lioness mating with 2 or 3 different males. So long as she's in heat. Yes, Joshua, your question was, do they mate with more than one female? Yes, they do that. And so long as that particular period she remains in estrus, you'll see her mating with different males. In general, they tend to stick to one male, but once in a while we have seen them mating with different males, and we say for that case the poreastrus, where one female will move from one male to the other. These particular males here that we call the triangle boys, 3 of them. So this one, the second I think in command here, will be the one that we call the fang. So if this female would maybe switch her mating partner from the short tail, chances are she would go to the fang. Fang is equally big, and females will always want the strong, males, good looking, because females also want to have the right genes and the progeny of them having cubs that would be able to survive. And as I was saying earlier, the cubs face so many challenges, and in general, not more than 80% of them will survive by the time they're 2 years. So whatever time these males will take, mating pair will take, and after about 105, 110 days, we'll be seeing cubs. The biggest challenge, I would say, is either starvation or sometimes abandonment, but also they get challenged or get attacked by predators like hyenas or leopards. The wind is picking up now, and you can see the red oat grass being blown by the wind there, and also part of the mohawk on the mane of this beautiful male lion. I hope, Joshua, you're still enjoying to see this short tail, which is one of the good-looking males around here, and the female just looking at each other and whatever communication they're having at the moment, flicking their ears. Not sure every time they flick their ears is flies or is a leaf flex. Kenwell, how are you today? And that's a pretty good question. And you're asking how many days they will mate for. It's always a duration of between 7 to 10 days. 7 to 10 days, Kenwell, that's the period they take to mate. And when they're just on the onset of mating, that's when they mate frequently and more times. As they come to the 6th, the 7th, towards the 10th day, the frequency lowers down and they don't mate as much. But the first 2-3 days, you might see them like every 5-10 minutes, the male just mating. And we have always thought sometimes rather difficult for the female to conceive, and that's why the male, will keep mating. And like in most cats, if you look, the penis of the cat, they have like spines, and those spines always face backwards. So when he is withdrawing the penis, it tends to rake the walls of the vagina of the females, and I would guess that helps to ovulate. So you would maybe ask yourself, why do they have to mate us so many times? I mean, mate once or twice and she conceives, but that does not happen. So he needs to keep mating every other time, and as I said, most of the penis of most cats face backwards, and because of the spines they got, which are pretty strong, as she withdraws, it tends either to rake the walls of the vagina of the females, and that helps in the ovulation. All right, let's see. We've got another herd of elephants coming in the background there. James, can you see that? We had the first big herd of elephants that went through, but this particular one is going the other way, quite a distance from the lions. But there's something the female is taking attention of, and she is looking at something. I don't know what she is looking at. But what would happen ideally during this period, they rarely go for any food. Excuse me, they rarely go for any food. So you'd comfortably see an antelope or a wildebeest just passing. You just look at it and like, not now, we got better business to do. But definitely she got some attention of something either passing, change direction, or just turning. Look at your man and find out how he's doing. The wind have slowed down a little bit. And I found out out of experience, as it warms up, they tend to mate more as it warms up in the day. Sydney, you need to get us some lions in South Africa, please.
I am now looking around the north boundary of the game reserve just to see if this lions has already crossed. But I can see that some other colleagues already have been here checking. I'm just trying my luck because we have not yet noticed any of the tracks coming out of this block. It seems like these lions, they are somewhere still around this block. It's getting very windy at the moment here where I am. But the temperature is still very low, still nice and cold. Ophelia, I didn't get the question nicely, FC, if you can repeat. It's very much windy here where I am at the moment. That is quite very difficult, Ophelia, to check the weight from the tracks. Yes, we can guess the size to say, no, this one is way much old, this one is still small, but when it comes to the weight, it's very difficult for me to tell that. But lions can weigh up to 90, they can weigh up to 190, 180 kilograms, which is a lot of weight. I hope we're going to find them. So here by the boundary, no tracks, nothing showing that they have crossed. So it means they are still in Djuma. Steve is also driving on the other side. He was with Hosanna not a long time ago. Not too sure if he's done with Hosanna. Let's see what is his next plan.
Yes, well, we did a little bit of a loop around just to see if we could find anything of interest. Now there are finally some impala here that are heading down towards the watering hole, so we're going to head right back there to the little chief himself while these impala slowly make their way there and set ourselves up in a nice area, preempting the ambush that will hopefully happen. And Joshua, you want to know, is there ever a track I've found that I've never seen before? Now, when you say that, do you mean is a track of an animal I've never seen? Because I've had tracks of aardwolf, and I've never seen an aardwolf before. I've had tracks of striped polecat as well, and I've never seen one of them before. But yeah, it is always really nice when you find a track of an animal you've never found before. And I take pictures of all the tracks I see, not all of them, but if I'm not sure, I take pictures, and then we talk to some of the experts, and they often will show us how to do it. And you saw what I did just now with my knife. If you're ever going to take a picture of a track, make sure that you measure it with something, because the size can be everything. So try and get more than 1 foot if you can, and put a measurement next to it. Anything. It could be a light, it could be a box of matches, it could be a phone, anything to give perspective. Because if you show that to someone who's an expert and there's no size, it's very hard to get the perspective. So that is really cool. We're going to move around, try and get ahead of these impala. Hosanna is still in the same place. No doubt he's going to raise his head in anticipation of these approaching, the small herd of approaching antelope. Sorry. Ferg reckons he saw him slinking into position. Now what do you reckon, Ferg? We stay on this side or we go all the way around? Okay, we're going to stay here for now. Po Bear, you want to know how many weeks? This is his 3rd week, I think, in a row. We found him on a Saturday 3 weeks ago, and now he's still there. So he's in there. We can't see him clearly now, but the impala are going to slowly approach. There is a vehicle with him over there, so they can see him. No doubt Hosanna is going to be changing his body posture. He's going to be maneuvering if he spotted them. He's in there. That's where we left him, underneath that log, flat as a pancake. And let's see how good these impala are at picking him out. A small group, only 4 antelopes, slowly making their way. Let me just talk to Abel and see what's happening that side, because he's moving. Okay, well, we try and get a better position and try to find out exactly what's happening over here. Let's go over to Trist and see how he's getting along with those lion tracks.
Well, it's been a bit of a frustrating morning because the lions are just turning around all over the place, back on themselves, walking all over. And so we're trying to re-find the freshest tracks. Unfortunately, a lot of vehicles have driven over a lot of the tracks. And so we're just kind of scratching around now, just off Nyala Road South. in the drainage line. It seems like they came back into the drainage line and were moving in a sort of northeasterly direction. Now, I'm not sure if Sydney's checked Buffelshoek Dam, but it might be a good place just to have a little look and see what's going on. So we just wanted to come and check this little sodic patch here on top, because this area is often a place where lions like to lie. We've had the Birminghams here many times. Herbie's seen the Nkuhumas here quite often. So it's always a good place to come and check. And lions like sodic sections. They like areas that are a little bit more open, that they don't have to lie in the grass, especially on a coolish morning like this morning. You'll often find them lying in these kind of areas. The only problem with here is that it's very undulating terrain, and so we need to be careful. And there we go, there's their tracks right there. So they have walked here at some point during the day today, during last night. So there's their track over there, but I just want to double check. This might be quite an old track. Yeah, so this track is not fresh at all. Now, the reason I say that is because if we have a look, we haven't had rain for quite a few days, but there's actually rain on top here. And if you look on the edges, if I push, they're very hard. It takes a while for me to actually push it down. So it's gone a bit crusty, which means that this is not from today, which is interesting. I wonder which lions walk through here, because the Nkuhuma Pride, the last time we had them in this area, did not walk this section at all. So I wonder if there's been other lions that have flown under the radar a little bit. So I just want to double check and see. Make sure if we can find some other tracks just to 100% confirm. It's always good just to double check and find another area that's nice soft sand. Sometimes the sodic sections can have that harder feel to them, but it doesn't look like they continue too far. So I wonder if the day that we had the Nkuhumas here, which was 2 Saturdays ago, if one of them just came down this side, and that's why we didn't see it, because they were all hunting in this area during our TV show. They were kind of up and down. So I wonder if one didn't just walk through here and then go back to the Pride on the other side. I think that's probably what's happened, but those are definitely not the freshest tracks that we need to be looking for. So while I try and find the fresher tracks, let's send you back across to Brent in the Masai Mara, who's still following his lionesses, and I wonder what they're up to. Now, unfortunately, apparently, we couldn't get across to Brent, but Herbie's whistling at me from somewhere down here. So I want to try and get to him. Normally when he whistles like that, it's when he's found something of interest. Now, David, are you going to be able to negotiate that? Okay, let's make sure that David gets down safely. And well done, David. Off we go. Now, while I try and find Herbie somewhere in this mess of gullies, apparently the Mara has been sorted out, and so we can now send you back to David.
Are you trying to scratch your trunk there? Or what are you exactly doing there, Ellie? That's my guess, and they have used these torchwood trees to scratch themselves. Excuse me. And if there could be a tick there, maybe, that's exactly what should be doing. Good scratch now on the ear, nice. And the torchwoods are some of the trees you see there are some of the most solid trees that you'll see in the Mara Triangle. It's very unusual to see these trees either dying or falling. I do not know for how long they live, but they're very solid trees. Good morning. And to you, beautiful. All the way in the savannah. Look at that. Well done, James. It's a very different herd from the one we saw before. Still not very far from the pair of lions. Either they have a commonality on the area they're taking. Gemini, I think your question is what makes an elephant a matriarch. I would say it's not the size, but in general, as you see those beautiful youngsters or young calves walking there, it's always the oldest elephant, it's always the oldest cow in the herd, and that one will always have more experience than the rest. So it's not more of the size, Gemini, it's more of the oldest. The oldest in the herd has more experience, has been there, has done it, has been involved in a lot of happenings, bad times, good times. So the matriarch in general to me is determined by the age. And that, gives the matriarch all the status, all the reason to be in charge. And she does, or she makes all the important decisions when to move, when to stop, when to turn, when to go for a drink, when to avoid a particular area, what route to take, where to go feeding. So we have always seen either the matriarch being the front, looking smaller than the rest, but in general is always the oldest Gemini, I would say the female in a herd. See those youngsters there, and elephants being very intelligent animals, they will keep their youngsters between them. They'll always make sure they're not on the periphery. They might have smelled or have seen the lions. See, like that youngster there is being kept right in the middle of the group, not wanting to take chances. And how majestic Elis are in the Mara Triangle as they walk through the beautiful savannah, nice forests or riverine forests, I'd call them, in the background. They'll pick either some plants as they walk through, like that particular one, not bothered very much to eat the red oat grass. So steaks, do elephants need what? Very good, very good. Sorry, Megan. And steak question is, do elephants need salt lick? Yes, they do. They do. You'll see them once in a while going to some salt lick areas, and you'll see them not actually drinking, but you just see them licking the soil around salt lick. Yes, that's a very good question, and you're asking whether elephants, yes, do need salt lick, and they do. You have seen them sometimes going to some watering holes. You see them not drinking, but you just see them using their trunk licking the soil around the salt lick. Yes, they do. And I would think it's all the animals here in the wilderness that will need to do that to complement calcium. The two there are being quite playful. Could be two youngsters, two bulls, I guess. Push me, push you, and how playful that. Well done, James. Isn't that entertaining? All right, sometimes they lock their tusks, but they're always very careful not to poke their eyes out. In all the times I've seen them playing, they're always careful that they don't get the tusks into their eyes, because that could easily make them blind and could be very dangerous. So one backing up, it's more of a play fight. There could be two cousins. All right, are you trying to keep your ground? All right, keep coming. I'm not sure I'm up to this. And they may also need to catch up with the main herd. Trunk up. Come on, come over. We're just playing. You don't have to be scared. It's not a fight. I would say they're just two young boys, full of nonsense, enjoying their time in life, full of energy. There are like two holes on the right ear there. If you look carefully, it's got some two holes in it. It could be anything, either from thorns or bushes when they walk through. And Hosanna might be thinking of some breakfast. Who knows? Stivovo, let us know.
Yeah, well, thanks, David. He definitely is thinking of breakfast. We still can't see him, but the vehicle that is on the other side of the watering hole has said he is flat on that grass or on that log looking at these impala. And he is watching them very closely, but they are just out of reach at the moment, slowly but surely making their way towards him, but not close enough. They're playing a few games, they're grooming, there's been some headbutting. They don't seem too concerned, but no one's being brave enough to basically walk over to the watering hole and have a drink as of yet. I'm sure it'll happen soon. It's just out of reach for them to drink, but the temptation is there. They will want to drink at some point before moving off, but no one wants to be the first one. It's understandable. They kind of, inside they probably have a feeling that something's not quite right over here, but the wind is blowing from their left-hand side, so it's perfect for the leopard that is hiding in there somewhere, flat, camouflaged, and we're just hoping the impala go to a certain sort of angle that allows him to stalk up behind them, because he often uses that dam wall to his advantage, that little wall there. Greg, leopards do hunt monkeys. It's why monkeys absolutely lose their minds when they see a leopard. I've never seen a leopard directly myself, seen one. I've seen a video of a leopard hunting a monkey, and they are very clever. Monkeys are very clever, but leopards, they know how to goad them, and they'll chase them, and the monkeys will go up a tall tree, and then the leopards will jump into the taller tree, and the monkeys will jump to the next tree, which is lower, and the leopard often will climb up above and launch through the tree canopy and catch monkeys. It is phenomenal to see. I've never seen it live, but monkeys are definitely on the menu, and a leopard is extremely fast in a canopy, and what they try and do is try and sort of get them towards branches where there's no escape, and then launch out and grab them, and even land on the ground with the monkeys in their claws. So they are very certain leopards are very good at hunting monkeys. But I would love to see that. I know my old boss sent me a video in the Sabi Sands of a leopard going up a tree and catching a monkey. It was the fastest thing you've ever seen. Really quick. And when the leopard goes for it, he goes for it, and he's very adept in the tree. Excuse me. But right now, he needs to get across open ground towards some very watchful impala. And when they go for monkeys in a tree, they can move up, and the monkeys have to move away. The impala are very well adapted to covering a very quick speed, or getting a very sharp speed off of the jump. So a leopard has to get very close, excuse me, if it wants to catch them. And being in a group like that makes it a bit easier. If it was one on its own, I think there'd be more chance. Well, who knows? We've spent many an afternoon watching Hosanna here over the last 3 weeks, waiting in anticipation for him to catch an antelope. And he only seems to catch them when when they're on their own, unless someone else has seen it on the dam cam, him catching one from a group. It's the reason why they hang out in groups. I was discussing it in detail yesterday. More eyes, more ears. A little bit of a munch before they go in and have a drink. A little bit more energy. This is when the patience of the leopard has to pay off. He has to wait and bide his time. If he's hungry, that is, and I'm pretty sure he's quite hungry. Dory, it'd be very hard to say. You wonder if Tingana's become independent on Hosanna. I don't think so. I think he's at that. He's the dominant male in the area, and he'll steal whatever kills he needs to steal. Ferg and I were commenting earlier that neither of us have actually seen him with his own kill that he's killed. So I'm pretty sure he can kill, but we never seem to find him with them. He's a very shy, secretive man when it comes to that. We find him full, and we find him on the kills of others. But I don't think dependent, opportunistic, most certainly. Leopards are always opportunistic. They will steal whatever they can. They'll eat whatever meat they can get their mouth upon. Excuse me. And I don't think he's dependent. I think he's just taking what he can get. And he is bigger than Hosanna. He's bigger than Tundi. So he'll steal from them whatever he can get. Well, how exciting it is. Tristan, Dix and Herbie have a surprise for you.
Well, we do. So we managed to spot these lions. They're really difficult to see, but straight across from us, there is a view of them just moving away from us at the moment. It's quite difficult to actually see. Herbie's trying to get us into a better position so that we can actually see where they are. But it looks like just 3 lions. We can't see any more than that. So we're going to try and get ourselves into a better view, and so that you can actually see them. But they're kind of aware that we're around. They stood up and they had a little look as to what's going on. So hopefully we'll be able to find them here again, so we can actually show you what's happening. We just need to go nice and slow. You can actually hear the francolins are making a bit of a noise now, and there's a squirrel that's alarm calling, so they're just up on top of the ridge here. So we're going to try and see if we can see them one more time. But if Sydney can start making his way to the area, that will be a good idea, because we're not going to be able to obviously follow them for too long. But it's so exhilarating when you track lions, and they've been hunting zebra in this area all night. There's lots and lots of tracks of zebras and the lions moving around in this section. So we're going to just try and get up on this ridge, and then from there we should be able to actually spot them. So there they go. Now Herbie can see them. He says they're just up in front of us, so we're going to just try to get a little closer. Now, I can't see them anymore myself, but they should be here somewhere very, very close. This is where they were lying, in this little thicket here, before we first saw them, and they got up and moved, and that's how we actually spotted them. It was William from Juma that was the first one to see them moving along. So hopefully if we get onto this mound over here, we should be able to spot them from there. But it's so exciting to be on foot. So, Ms. Hero, you say lions, and the thought of them would make your knees wobble. Well, it is a bit kind of hair-raising when you first see them and you first kind of get them on foot. But luckily for us, because of where we are in the Sabi Sands and the lions not being persecuted too much. Come, David. They're right here. They don't actually get too nervous with us. So they're still running from us, unfortunately. The problem is with lions on foot sometimes is that they get a little bit nervous, particularly if it's just 3 individuals. Maybe it's the sub-adults from the Nkumas that have split, and they might just be trying to kind of jog away from us to try and just get some distance. So we're not going to push them too much further. We're going to get a vehicle in instead, and then try and kind of have that situation rather than us just pushing them on foot. So Aubrey's here. He's going to try and make his way in. The last time we saw them was just straight in front of us, moving southwards, so pretty sure they're not too far away from where we are. It's just very, very difficult to see them. They camouflage so well when they are in these kind of thickets, and I don't think we're going to be able to catch up with them too quickly. I thought if we got up onto this mound we might have seen them. Anyway, well, it's exciting nonetheless. We've managed to at least find where the lions are, and so while we wait for Sydney to get you and point him in the right direction, let's send you back across to Brent Leo Smith, who's had a much easier time of following his lions.
Linking. Well, welcome back to the Masai Mara. The lovely ladies of the Sausage Tree Pride are still snoozing in the long grass. The wildebeest are slowly making their way towards us. I think, as I say, apart from that random lot that just jogged in, I think probably in a couple of hours the wildebeest are going to make their way into this area. But till then, it's nap time for the girls of the Sausage Tree Pride. Cold, windy day here in the Masai Mara. Remember, we are 100% live. And there we go, you can see those lovely ears. Joshua is wondering why are they called the Sausage Tree Pride, Joshua. It's because when they were first found, they were often seen under a big sausage tree. And Jamie, I think, has even seen them climbing in a sausage tree. But that's where they get their name from, the sausage tree. So there are quite a few big sausage trees that dot the Mara. And they used to frequent one up towards an area called 50 kilometre. But they are probably 15 to 20 kilometres away from that spot at this very moment, taking advantage of the bounty of the migration. But for now, it's time to catch a few Z's before the wildebeest arrive. Oh, really windy this morning, and chilly. Oh, well, it sounds like the little spotted prince of Juma might wake up, because there might be a meal on the way towards him.
Yes, well, we have moved all the way around. We've got the impala in a two-shot, and if you look just above this log, in the middle of the screen, a little bit to the right, there's just the movement of his ear there. Can you see it? Just that white. There's his eye there, his face is. It's taken Ferg and I a little bit of time to find him, but he is there. He is lying very flat in that thicket, hoping that these impala are going to come closer to him, but they are still on the other side of the watering hole from him. The wind is in his favor. It's blowing directly towards him. They don't seem to have any idea what is going on here. And of course they're wary of the pan, but they have to drink. They have to drink. The reality of it is there are dangers in the world, but we still have to live our lives. We don't go and lock ourselves in our homes and never leave because there's danger outside. You have to drink, and it's why animals hang out in groups, why they have to come out here together. They don't want to be on their own. Being on your own is a silly fool's errand, to be honest, and that's why the duikers seem to be getting picked off all the time, because they're on their own. Even birds coming down to drink do it in large numbers. They did a study on peregrine falcon attacks on doves or pigeons, and the more pigeons there were, the further away they actually spotted the approach of the raptor. So the more animals there are together in a group, the more chance they have of surviving whatever predator attack there is. There's something called the arms race. There are constantly going to be predators, and there's constantly going to be prey, and there's constantly this adaptation for one to get better, and it's constantly against each other. Who's going to provide the bigger weapon? And as the predator gets more camouflage and more stealthy, so the antelope become more fleet-footed and more aware. And it's a constant battle, no one ever winning. If they ever won, that's when we lead to extinction. That's when animals lead to extinction, is when you outcompete, and that's where the introduction of humans to most of the world, most of the large continents, you saw immediately within 100 years, 200 years, 300 years, the annihilation of large predators because of the competition against the very organized group of Homo sapiens. Africa, on the other hand, has evolved with man, so the animals have evolved with this two-legged, upright, standing hunter, and so the animals have evolved to avoid us as well. That's why there's always a fear of man out in Africa, and that's why the animals actually do survive, why there's such an abundance of species on this continent, because this is where we came from. See how jumpy they are. Even that fork-tailed drongo that just landed on the bottom caused them to jump. But they're wary. They know there's something going on. They want to go and drink, but just no one wants to be the first one. Okay, well, the bushwalk team found the lions. Let's go over to Sydney and see if he's maybe able to get a little bit closer.
I am now around Nyala Road South, where there has been a lion sighting here earlier. So I'm just trying to check where exactly that sighting was. Not too sure where exactly, but I am in the right area now. I've just picked up some updates from the bushwalk guys. So now I'm just gonna quickly go around here. The bushwalk team just called me now from the sighting, so I'm just trying to reverse here so that I can approach from this angle. This is very exciting. It has been So I am now going to those lions. The bushwalk team managed to show me where exactly those lions are at the moment.
Afternoon safari. Have a beautiful day.